Good evening. Welcome back to Crusader Chris. As always, I am Crusader Chris, and I hope you're having a wonderful night. This is my review for Absolute Batman number three. Before we get into it, if you haven't seen the videos for episode or for issue one and issue two of Absolute Batman, I'll drop the playlist link down below if you want to check those out. But so far, this series is amazing, absolute amazing. See what I did there? Um, and issue one and in issue two, we get the introduction, of course, of our Batman. And Gotham is basically taken over by the party animals. This iteration of Alfred is which we know before he's special ops, but this one's really special ops. He gets down and dirty and the gritty at his age. And we're getting the origins and the flashback scenes of Bruce as a child. So this is part three of the zoo. If you've read issue one, issue two, and seen my review already, you know that the theme so far is current timeline and then flashbacks to the murder of Thomas Wayne, to the grieving that Bruce Wayne is going through, and how it differs from Prime Earth from what we know. He sees his parents get killed in a crime alley, and he deals with it on his own. Alfred's there the whole time, but Bruce self isolates. And in this one, it's quite different because, of course, he's friends with Selena Kyle, with Eddie, with Oz, Waylon, all them. And, we continue on a flashback scene of him and Selena. Selena goes to Bruce's home and she's there to sort of get him out of the pit of misery that he's in. And what I love about this is because it sort of like lays the groundwork of the continuous cat and mouse that these two have. In this case, cat and bat, because they're allies, of course. Selena goes down the path of crime, and eventually, her and Batman work together, and they fall in love. But in this iteration, it's different because they've known each other since they were kids, and it's like of the three issues so far, my favorite aspect, besides the absolute unit that Batman is and the kick ass that he does, I love the flashback scenes the most and seeing how it's different from the origin that we all know. Um, and as we left off in issue two, we get introduced to the Bat Tank. It's not a Batmobile, it's a Bat Tank. And Batman was trapped by the party animals and Black Mask. And, Alfred is there to help him out. And a good chunk of this book is just absolute havoc from this Bat Tank. Alfred is trying to convince Batman that they should work together, and primarily that he overheard that Black Mask was offering Batman a deal and that Batman should take the deal. Roman is offering Batman over hundreds of millions of dollars to step aside, and Alfred is trying to convince Batman that this is a good idea because one, he gets money out of it, and two, it allows Alfred and his team to know the location of Black Mask, and so they can go after him. And of course, Bruce is having a hard time with this, obviously, because the idea of letting this monster loose, no, not even letting, because the monster's already loose, but the idea of not pursuing him anymore, it's messing with Batman's head. And we get our answer at the end of this issue on what he decides on whether or not he takes the deal, and it's surprising. And what I love about the relationship that's being developed between Alfred and Batman is right here. Batman tells Alfred, "You help me out if you want to prove that we can work together." And Alfred starts shooting basically tranquilizers at the Black Masks and to pop their tires. And while this is all happening, of course, he's trying to convince him. I'm saying you meet him, agree to step down for the fight, and he'll lower the attacks. And Batman gets upset by quitting, forget it. And of course, he's going through this dilemma because Batman never quits. Why would Batman bend the knee to evil? Why would he give in to these criminals that have been causing nothing but pain in the city? And it's just, it's something that Batman is not willing to do, and understandably so. And while this is all happening, we see that this tank turns into an actual Batmobile. I don't know. It's framed, and of course, and of course, it's like shown how much smaller it gets. But I need something to be scaled with it. I need like a police car to be right beside it or something, or like a human being to be right beside it. Um, but basically, Batman shoots Alfred out of the Batmobile, and I'm calling it Batmobile now because it's no longer a tank. And this is the last of their conversation until later in the issue where we see Alfred trying to convince Batman to take the deal from Black Mask. And then we go back to the flashback. So, like I mentioned, it's flashbacks, current, flashback, current, flashback, current. And they're jumping back and forth. I've had issues with it in other books. Um, there's a few Marvel books where I was like, sort of stopped reading it after a few issues. It was this constant back and forth. They weren't laying it out properly. And Absolute Batman, Scott Snyder is doing the opposite. I think he's doing a great job laying back these flashback scenes because you want to know more about this Batman because it's a different origin story. It's a different tale. And that's what's working for Absolute Batman is the curiosity that we all have, including myself, to know his story. Right here, we see them continue to conversate between Selena and Bruce, and Selena is an orphan, and she's been through 4 foster homes in under a year, and Bruce is offering her to move in with him and his mom, Martha, and Selena gets upset because I guess she doesn't want to feel like a burden to them. And it just goes to show the continued independence of Selena and the unfortunate circumstances that she's in being in these foster homes, and how Bruce is offering a helping hand and being a good friend, and she turns it down not because out of spite, but I think it's more self doubt, or like I mentioned, she doesn't want to be a burden, and that's how I'm reading it in this interaction. But I love this panel because we get kitty cats, and I love cats. Meow meow. But let's go ahead and continue. This was an interesting conversation. This was just quick. At first, I thought this was our introduction to Brainiac because I've seen covers of Absolute Superman, and Brainiac kind of looks like this, but it's not. Unless it is. I haven't read into those issues yet. Um, but we see Bruce talking to Eddie, and Eddie made a sort of Riddler bot to answer all the questions that anyone has. And we find out something very, very interesting about why these party animals are wreaking such havoc. It turns out the black coin, right? I think I'm reading that right. Yeah, the black coin is sort of currency. And the way to obtain this currency is by committing crimes. And each crime has a different level of currency. So robbery, I don't think they gave it a scale, but let's say robbery gets you $5,000. Um, let's say a kidnapping gives you 10,000, murder gives you 20,000, or so on, so on. So in this conversation that Bruce has with Eddie, Bruce finds out that it's an incentives for these party animals to keep wreaking havoc. That's why they're just so gun ho, because they're trying to get rich. Um, and then Harvey reaches out to him. We find out, of course, Harvey's a lawyer. Nothing new, and he basically gives Bruce a tip on what actually is invested in the party animals and Black Mask's crew, and it helps guide Bruce further into his investigation. And it's interesting, this detective work. It's it's different from what I'm used to because you see Bruce go on patrol, you see Bruce go on detective work, finding clues, pulling onto the string and going further and further into the investigation. And right here, he's sort of stuck at a crossroads. He doesn't really know where to go. And I like that in this iteration, Eddie is helping him, Harvey's helping him, people that we're not used to seeing work with him often. Um, so we continue. to the party animals, and we see Black Mask and Harvey Bullock, Commissioner Harvey. He goes and he meets with the gentleman. His name is escaping me. Basically, going to be a candidate, or not a candidate, but like a politician. And they go and meet with Black Mask. And this interaction was, I would say, disturbing nonetheless. Nothing out of the ordinary of seeing these monsters, but Black Mask is convincing Harvey that Gordon is not a good mayor and that Batman's not good for the city and that they should work together. And this, we'll get more into this a little later. We get our first, not, no, not our first. So in issue 2, we get Arc M, ARK space M. And it turns out Arc M, as talked about by Harvey, and Alfred is telling Bruce about this, that Arc M is like, not like black market, but like super off the grid prisons with basically no government oversight, and they can do whatever they want inside these prisons. That Arc A, so it's a series of prisons. Arc A was in a different location and somewhere in the world. Arc B was in it says right here, I'm having a hard time reading. Arc C was in China, and that Arc M is going to be in Gotham, and it's going to be the biggest prison so far. In Arc M, obviously Arkham Asylum. Um, and that the weight of all this is starting to weigh on Bruce on what he really is up against. And Alfred, being our narrator of the series so far, he is putting things into perspective for Bruce. Is that no matter how hard he fights, no matter how much will, determination, and grit that he has, he's an unstoppable force, but the object is beyond immovable. The object is pushing against as well. Um, and that's like sort of the struggle that Bruce is dealing with right now. Go back to this flashback. So, like I mentioned a few minutes back, that my favorite element of the series so far are the flashback scenes of sort of his origin and him dealing with the grief of his father being killed in front of him. And we see Zorro. Selena sort of lures Bruce into a movie theater. He doesn't know what's going on, and they're gonna watch Zorro. Bruce gets upset. In this iteration, he gets upset when Zorro pops on the screen. And of course, if you know the origins of Batman, Thomas and Martha are watching Zorro, um, and they leave the theater. Oh, not Zorro. There's different iterations, but in this one is Zorro leaves the theater, gets shot in crime alley, and I don't know why Bruce gets upset that they're watching Zorro. Maybe I missed it. It'll be talked about maybe in other issues, but yeah, I don't know why. And then we see all his friends surprise him. Bruce smiles. Martha is in the back of the theater watching her son heal with his friends, and she's smiling as well. And I love these. This is, like I said, my favorite part of the book. And then we have a beautiful conversation. It was beautiful for Martha because it shows her determination, but for Bruce, he's frustrated. This is, of course, we're back in the current time, and Martha, from what we learned in issue 2, Martha and Gordon have they've had a history together, working, fighting crime, just going against the evilness in the city of Gotham. And right here, she's gonna make her name more prominent, and she's gonna, endorse and promote and campaign for Gordon way, way more, and be a politician for him. And Bruce is upset because it puts a target on her back. And this conversation is very, it's like bittersweet because Bruce is showing, of course, he loves and cares for his mom, and he doesn't want anything to happen to her. And she says, "We're Waynes, we have to fight the fight." And Bruce says, "Look how that ended up for Dad." And Martha gets upset, but she's like, "I'm not gonna slap you." So we're wrapping up towards the end of this book. So now we're at this crossroads. Bruce is slowly finding out what the motivations are for these people, the party animals, how Black Mask is operating. what Arc M is establishing and how it's gonna just corrupt the city even more. Hill, I can see his name Hill. I forget his first name. Hill uh, is gonna be running for mayor. He gets endorsed by Harvey because Harvey is being basically funded by Black Mask now. Um, and it's unfortunate because Harvey Bullock, of course, we've seen the good and bad sides of him, the corrupt side of him. I was hoping that he would have fought harder uh, for Gordon, but I'm not surprised that he sides with Black Mask and Hill and all that. You know, in this, he he sees that Black Mask is trouble. I don't know if he knows the extent of it because I don't. I think he does know that he's part of the party animals. I don't know. I don't know. But we do find out that every year since you know, the shooting at the zoo, which killed Thomas, that they held vigils and they have a giant light that projects through the sky. And Hill is basically saying we should stop doing that because there's violence in the streets. And, you know, there's not much to Hill right now. You know, of course, I'm sure they'll build upon his character and what he's doing. Well, of course, he's running for mayor, but like how he's going to do it. But the whole point of this panel was to sort of just be upset at Harvey Bullock, and that's exactly what I was. That's what I was upset at him. And finally, we see that Bruce Wayne, Batman, accepts the deal from Black Mask. It's for $200 million, and all he asks is for Batman to step aside for 1 week while he handles his business on the streets of Gotham. He even snarkily says that we'll take it easy on Gotham this week. We won't go as hard, but you accept the deal, and Batman Bruce Wayne accepts the deal. And I'm not taking this at face value. I think there's definitely going to be a catch to it and why he accepted this deal. I don't think it's for, maybe it is for the money. $200 million that can set up Batman, this version of Batman, who's not a billionaire, who's not a child of a rich family. So I don't like it. I don't like that he accepted it, but I understand it because he needs the money. But I think he's sort of just tricking Black Mask. I hope he's tricking Black Mask. And maybe he does step aside for a few days or for a night or whatever, and he sees that he can't step aside, that the $200 million isn't worth the lives of people that he could possibly be saving. And I hope he steps up. Um, so that is my review for Absolute Batman number 3. Of the 3 issues, this one was sort of like the filler of the 3 because it's a transition period. Issue 1, of course, was our introduction to this world. Issue 2 was establishing how Batman is going to be patrolling Gotham and his investigation, his detective work. This is just filling in blanks that we've been having. What is the motivation for the party animals? And then in the flashback scenes, how did Bruce grieve his father's loss? What exactly is Martha going to be doing because she was stepping up? You know, she was being a more prominent role in issue 2. Black Mask, now he has the next mayor in his pocket as well as the commissioner in his pocket. The Batmobile, absolute tank, of course, and Alfred. You know, hopefully him and Batman continue to work together, but we'll see. So overall, really enjoyed this issue. Like I mentioned, it's sort of like a transitional filler issue. This one. So looking forward to reading issue 3 and seeing where the story continues to take us. I think the number one thing I'm looking forward to is going forward is Arkham, how that's established, who's in Arkham. That's very interesting. So I'm excited to see that. But yeah, guys, that is my review. So if you're still watching, I appreciate your support. Consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. I really appreciate that. But like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you haven't seen issue 1, issue 2 review, I'll drop the playlist down below. But that's it, guys. As always, I'm Crusader Chris. Catch y'all next time. Peace.